I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're listening to Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs, and the sins of the underworld. We're Ireland's top podcast for 2025, and now we've got a new website. So if you want to learn more about crime and criminals, if you want stories, extras, and podcast subscriber specials, go to www.crimeworld.com.
So, Sophie, we're 1 week on, roughly, from when your cousin has had his sentence extended by a year. Mm-hmm. And that's come after a long campaign that you ran publicly as well, and launched a petition calling for an increase in his sentence for really what was a catalogue of, really, really serious and crimes, sex crimes over a long period of time. Yeah. How do you feel now that extra year has been added?
I mean, look, a year is a year. I was probably a little bit underwhelmed last week coming out of court. And, I don't know what I was expecting going in there, but it was, in my head, there was no way that I was going home with no extra time. In my head, I'm here. It's taken such a long time. The DPP have agreed that this needs to be looked at. It's in the hands of the 3 judges, but I was just in my head thinking, how can they stand by this? And it's so hard to prove that something is unduly lenient. So that was what the term was. Is it unduly lenient? Yes, you can say that it's lenient, but is it like unduly so? That was what we kind of had to prove on the day.
Which is kind of a legal barrier, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like a kind of an emotional reaction. They have to show that.
Yeah.
But if we go back to the case, Sophie, It involves your cousin, David Hamilton, your first cousin, mm-hmm. and a catalogue of abuse that took place when you were just a child.
Yeah.
Tell us the circumstances of your family at the time when you first came into your life on a sort of daily basis, really.
So when I was 3, my parents obviously split up. It's a long process to be divorced, but we moved out of our family home and into my grandparents' house.
Yeah. And that was yourself and your sister?
Yeah, and my mum.
Yeah.
And our cousins, like Jonathan and David, lived across the road.
Yeah.
Literally, it was one lane where the entire family lived. Yeah. All of my grandparents' 4 siblings or 4 kids there was 3 of them on that one lane.
Yeah.
So basically our whole family was on that one lane.
Yeah.
Not too long after we moved in, maybe say 2 years or so, Jonathan and David's house burnt down tragically in a fire. So they moved into our grandparents with us.
Yeah.
So the 4 grandkids were immediately in that house. It was like a 2-3 bedroom house. It was way too small for the amount of us, but we made it work like it was what it was. So that was how there was so much access to me.
And what was your first memories of them? Because they're how many years older? And obviously
6.
Jonathan was also convicted of crimes that were committed against your sister, which we'll come into. So they're 6 years older, are they?
David is 6 years, Jonathan is 7.
Yeah. And what are your first memories of them? Do you remember them around the house at that stage?
Yeah, I do. My first memories are like us playing on the swings and slides outside. You know, we were very much good kids. Pals. Like we were. Like the 4 of us played. We were the 4 original grandkids as well.
Yeah.
The others didn't come until sometime later. So it was just the 4 of us. And, you lived out in the middle of nowhere in the countryside. It wasn't a big estate. We didn't have a big group of friends. It was the 4 of us.
Yeah. And what were they like as kids? Like, do you remember them having any sort of slight fear or anything striking odd even at that age?
Odd things that I remember is that they were always into, well, first of all, they played video games and a lot of them.
Yeah.
But like they always had the newest technology at the time, Game Boys, PlayStations, but they were always into shooting.
Yeah.
They were always into violence. Like it was so evident. Even, my dad's side of the family would have always said, there's just something amiss there.
Yeah. But obviously boys can be boys and be messy and violent, but very few of them, I mean, a very, very small number that go on to commit sex offences.
Yeah.
Which is obviously what started happening to you at a really, really early age. Now, you were a child, so you're not, your memories aren't going to be times and dates necessarily. Yeah. But do you have a sense of what age it was? I know it was said in court, sort of identified an age.
Yeah, they pinpointed it to be about 7, roughly. So I was 7 years old is what they reckon, but it could have been slightly earlier.
And how, like a child at 7, so, this knows nothing about sexual abuse, presumably. They may have heard something on a TV or whatever, but they don't know. They're innocent. Like children are innocent at the age of 7. And, having been a father myself, them kids at the age of 7, they basically trust the people around them implicitly.
Mm-hmm.
When it first happened, did you understand this wasn't right, and how or have any sense of that?
No. Like looking back as an adult, obviously I can see all the red flags and the signs, and it was there. But to me, that was my cousin David, and he was just playing mommies and daddies and babies with me.
Yeah, yeah. And what age was he then?
Maybe 14.
14. And obviously the abuse continued then over, was it a 3 or 4 year period or?
3.
3-year period. And, what was the nature of the abuse, Sophie, if you don't mind me asking you, like?
So basically a lot of it was just like touching and feeling and groping. And then it escalated to a point where he was actually like placing his penis like right on the outside of me. Yeah. Now, as far as I can recall, it was never inserted.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I've blocked that out mentally, but I remember it like explicitly time and time again. This could have happened a couple of times a week. It did actually.
Yeah.
But he was ejaculating all over me, going, running and grabbing it. And the only way that I could describe it, and it was so upsetting to read my statement back, because as an adult, even then I was describing it as like, oh, I thought that was Vaseline. I thought that was, I didn't know what semen was. I didn't, like, that was the level of innocence, was like, I don't know what this is, but I just know he's cleaning it off me and then he's cleaning it off himself.
And what was he saying to you, Sophie? Like, because a lot of people speak about a kind of a grooming process and then a protective process, that they're also, the abuser is also making sure the word doesn't get out.
Yeah, like it's not really something that he ever drove home with me. Don't tell anyone, don't talk about this. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even explain it. It was just this thing that nobody talked about and we were all on the same page about it.
Yeah. And as this is happening, like, you're a child experiencing this. So, like, in a funny way, like anything that happens to you as a child is normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when you get older.
Yeah, it was my normal. But like, at the same time, I knew that I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I was frozen like a statue. I couldn't do anything. I had no control. I just had to be there and do it.
Yeah. And how, like, in the middle of all this, how would he treat you otherwise? Like around the house, was he normal? Like, to you?
Yeah. I think because I was so young when my parents split up, and it was so traumatic. Like, we were being collected on a Friday every 2 weeks, and then that I was upset leaving and I was upset coming back on Sunday, and there was so much mentally with that.
Yeah.
Like trying to keep mom from being upset, trying to keep dad happy, it's not a child's place to do all of those things. And I think David saw that in me, that I need someone's attention here. I need someone to play with. I need, someone to just sit down and take care of me. And he definitely saw that and completely took advantage of it. And I just didn't see it at the time.
No. And of course, how would you?
Yeah.
So it goes on for that period of time. But when you get to the age of 10, it comes to this moment where you sit somebody down and tell them what's happening.
Yeah.
Did you have... did something come into your mind that got you to that moment, or did you hear or read something that you came to realize this isn't okay and this isn't normal?
I think it was so many things. And I was seeing him with my other cousins, and one of them is another female. And I just thought in my head, if anything ever happened, I have a younger sister. She was just born around then. She was very, very small. There's 10 years between us.
Yeah.
And I just thought, my God, I will never forgive myself if something happens here. Our family needs to know, and somebody needs to do something about this, or even have a conversation with him.
So even when you're at that age of 10, you're getting a bit more self-awareness, and that is the first thought that comes into your head.
Yeah.
So you sat somebody down and, again, you're a child, so you probably don't know how it's going to be received.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say it wasn't received in a way that it should be if a child discloses sexual abuse. What did happen?
I told the person.
Yeah.
They promised me that they would speak to him.
Yeah.
And that it would be sorted and never to bring it up again.
Yeah.
It would be dealt with. He would get in trouble and he would never do it again.
Yeah.
And that's not what happened at all.
No.
And I didn't find that out until my late teens.
So that was, you spoke that, but the abuse did happen, but you have said in court you believe that the abuse did stop happening, but you have said in court that you believe it stopped happening for another reason other than the family stepping in.
Yeah.
In terms of that they moved out, basically.
They moved out. Also, he had a girlfriend at this time. I don't believe that I'm the only victim.
Yeah.
I think, it's crazy to me to believe that he was, 17 when he stopped with me.
Yeah.
To this day now, he's 34. There's no way, if that was in him, that he's just paused it and it was just me. I was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, there's no way. So I think in the time between, like in the last, 10, 12 years, there has to be other instances. Because
remember, like, a 17-year-old, while technically a child, like, everybody has been 17. Like, you have a very clearly developed sense of right and wrong at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, for him to be abusing a 10-year-old child, like, he 100% knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why it was so frustrating to me that the sentence was so lenient, because there was an overlap as well of a year. So he had stopped abusing and raping my sister from the time he was like 14, but then said in his statement and said in court, I knew then at the end of that it was wrong.
Mm.
And then the question was, okay, well, you knew that it was wrong and you've admitted that it was wrong and you've continued to do it for another 3 years.
Yeah. So Sophie, you're then 10. Now, a father of teenagers, so, when the kids hit 13, 14, go into secondary school, like, they change naturally, like all kids do.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, like all teenagers, they get a rush of self-awareness and a rush of, they become aware of themselves in the world and they start to be sort of attached to their peer group. And if they've had a very traumatic childhood, which undoubtedly you have had, it sort of then starts to come out, I think.
Yeah.
Is that how it was for you?
Yeah, I was very angry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in school. I actually wanted to drop out after my junior cert. Like, it was a massive struggle to even make it to my leaving cert.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very, very angry.
How would that express itself? Like, how would that play out?
Just being bold in school, doing things I shouldn't have been doing, distracting the other kids. Like, looking back now and working in a school, I'm going, oh my God, I would have been so mad if there was a kid like me in my class.
Yeah.
And everything just comes full circle. But like, I never had the strength or the courage to sneak out. Like, I never would have disobeyed the family.
Yeah. But you knew at some point then you're in your teenage years and presumably these memories are coming back to you. And are you starting to get a different perspective? Are you starting thinking, I want to talk about this or I need to talk about this?
I think I just buried it for a long time. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, to be honest, really. And I was kind of in the state of mind that, okay, he's been spoken to, it's been sorted, there's no point drudging this up again.
Yeah.
He's not doing it anymore. Things are well, move on with your life.
Yeah. And you would see him through all this time, would you, in family events?
Every Christmas, every birthday. We were still just across the road. So, we built our family home right next to my granny's and he was still just across the road.
And how did you feel about it when you saw him through those years? Like,
sick.
Did you?
Every time I saw him, I didn't want to be near him at all. And he always treated me differently. Like, even up to the time when I moved out of the family home, I didn't speak to anyone on that side of the family. But my granny actually extended the hand and she reached out to me.
Yeah.
And I called out to her house one day.
Yeah.
And at the time, they were unaware I had made a statement or anything. They just knew that I had moved out and why I had moved out.
Yeah.
And he came straight over. He saw my car go down the lane and into my granny's house and he came straight over.
Yeah.
Trying to suss out, if I was going to make a statement, what I was going to say. And I was just so uncomfortable. I ended up leaving and I never saw my granny again.
So he actually approached you personally, like even at that point.
Yeah, he was so ballsy, like he wasn't.
Yeah. And through those years, would he try and talk to you? Would he try and sort of engage with you as you were in your teenage years? Like,
not really to the same extent that he did when we were kids. It was very much just like minimal, normal family behaviour.
Yeah. So, Sophie, it all comes to a head when is it 19?
20.
20. And how did you get to that point? Like,
I was angry.
Yeah.
I was really angry because himself and Jonathan were putting up on Facebook, they were going to Barcelona to the Formula 1 races. And, he was very much living his best life and seemed that he was really excelling in his job. And he just very much seemed like he was getting on with things.
Yeah.
And I was just stuck.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that this is so unfair. Why am I not able to move on with my life, but you can live freely?
And what does being stuck mean? It's stuck in how your emotional state or in other parts of your life?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, I had suffered a loss. My partner at the time passed away actually from cancer. I dropped out of college. Like, I just felt like everything is going wrong in my life. And I don't know how to help myself. I don't know how anybody hasn't copped on that I'm struggling here. And it goes deeper.
Yeah. So did you go to the guards first, or did you go and seek help in other ways? Like,
I rang my sister.
Yeah.
And I told her. And she was so upset for me.
Yeah.
I told my dad the same night. I just got this one day where I was like, courage central. I'm going to just tell everybody.
Yeah.
And my dad was absolutely devastated. And he encouraged me to go to the guards, and it was all the same evening.
So you went and then spoke to them, and then obviously then the other part of this story, which we haven't got into yet, is the fact that, as this came out, you learned then that it wasn't just you alone, that your sister had also suffered all of these things over an extended period of time. Now, obviously, you hadn't shared with each other any of this, or you'd never suspected anything like that?
No, never.
So tell us what your sister told you when you told her what had happened to you.
She didn't go into detail. I didn't really go into detail either. Like, up until court, we had never really heard or known what had happened to each other.
Yeah.
I think it was two things. We respected each other and we loved each other so much that we didn't want to re-trigger and re-traumatize each other.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't need to know in detail what had happened to her in order to believe her, and vice versa. If I said out loud that this happened, she believed me. And if she said it happened, I believed her. And that was just it.
Yeah. And obviously then, but it is a shock, of course, to hear that what she had gone through. Like, you had always been close and remain really close now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guards then presumably take a formal statement. Is that the next bit of the process? Were you informing the other side of your family at this stage, or did the guards do that for you, if you know what I mean?
I didn't inform them. I had no contact with any of them.
Yeah. So what year is this when you make your formal statement?
2021, I think.
2021. Yeah. Is it just during COVID or just around that sort of?
Before.
Just before that.
Yeah.
Did you know about the legal process then at this stage?
I hadn't a clue what I was up against.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to look back probably, but what did you think would happen, if you know what I mean?
I didn't think it'd take as long.
Oh, yeah.
I really didn't. I thought that it would be my statement to be made, they'd be arrested, their statements would be taken, and then it would go to court.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it would take 5-6 years for anything really to happen. And like, even, a couple of months goes by and you don't hear anything and you think, oh my God, I'm at the bottom of the queue and they're not going to get around to me. And then they ring you randomly one day, the guards, and they say, we need your all your medical history. And you're going, oh my God, okay, I didn't know that that's something that you needed. And then they ring and say, we need your signature for something. And it's just so long. There's so much that you don't know is going to happen.
And as you're going through this big long wait, is it causing you stress? Is it concern? Do you fear it's going nowhere? Because of course a lot of these cases don't go anywhere.
Yeah. In my head, it wasn't a case that it'll never go to court because they had pled guilty straight away at the earliest convenience that they could. They pled guilty. So I was like, okay, well, look, at least I kind of respected them a little bit more because at least they've been honest and said it's happened.
Yeah.
But no, like I was completely freaked. Like I was driving home from work and David followed me one day and I wasn't safe until, like, I didn't want to drive to my house because I didn't want him to know where my new place was. So I pulled into a guard station.
Yeah.
I was freaking out about seeing them every time I bumped into them in Tesco. I moved to Spain actually because I was like, I can't do this until court is finished. Then I'll come back when I feel safe if they go to prison. But before then, I don't feel safe here.
And are you, like, in the middle of all of this stuff, are you going to get help? Are you going to therapy? Are you trying to deal with all of the stuff that's going on as well as the legal process?
I tried to go to therapy. I actually tried a couple of different therapists.
Yeah.
And you do have to find someone that you gel with and stuff. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But once I found out after researching the court process and stuff, finding out that my notes might have been used by the defence, because I didn't realise the defence gets access to your therapy notes.
Yeah.
Once I found that out, I was like, no, because if what you say to your therapist is supposed to be so sacred, finding out like that's going to possibly be used against you is just, no, I didn't feel safe going there at all.
And I think it's an incredible phenomenon, you know, and obviously people are entitled to mount a defence against whatever they're charged with, but it's the idea that counselling notes could be used in this manner. It is something that people have highlighted and sought to change the laws on, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that I'm part of as well as campaigning for that, because at the end of the day, look, Hazel Behan is a friend of mine and she has campaigned against this so much. And she was on Ireland AM last week and she put it so perfectly by saying, counselling notes are very much third party.
Yeah.
So you and I will both leave here today and we'll write down something completely different about the experience.
100%.
And therapy is no different. That person is just writing down what you're telling them, what has happened in that room, but they weren't at the scene of the crime.
No. And it shouldn't, when you're speaking to them, you're not speaking to them as you're writing an affidavit where you're trying to double check and, you're just expressing yourself. Mm-hmm. So why you should be using a legal process, it's very hard to understand, I think.
Crazy.
So, Sophie, you're going through this through 2001. When did they plead guilty then?
As soon as they were arrested. So I don't have the exact date, but I know it was maybe the end to the latter part of 2022.
Yeah. So in this case, and of course there's all of these cases can be very different, but in this case, they didn't deny it. Mm-mm. They didn't say, they're just making it up. We never don't know anything about it. They, not only did they admit it, they also, in their statements, added details, I think. Isn't that fair to say?
Yeah, David in particular had memories, things that he had dwelled upon quite clearly over the years.
Yeah.
Certain times and dates and events that had taken place that I had completely erased from my memory in order to protect myself, probably.
Yeah. So he gave these details. So, it's not as if he even just said, I did something and that. So despite all of that, the family still don't roll in behind you, which is really hard to understand. So sometimes people just, they just believe their son or daughter or whatever who says I didn't do it, and they believe them, and they probably go to their grave believing them. But they can't say this to family members because he said I did it myself.
Yeah.
Was there ever any moment when they'd admitted it, when they pled guilty publicly, that your own that people apologised to you for not believing you or anything like that?
Never. They've never reached out. They've never tried at all. Like my poor granny basically raised me. She has passed away since, and I found out that she passed away through RIP.ie.
Yeah.
None of them could even pick up the phone.
Yeah. So what age are you, Sophie, as this is going through? You're in your early 20s, basically. Yeah. Like, you're not a child, but it's a time when people, certainly in the modern world, they really need their family to support them, don't they?
Yeah, for sure.
What sort of loss is that, like, not to have that?
I mean, I've grieved them like they have all died. Yeah. I've grieved all of that side of the family as if they are no longer with us. And, you think about things like I'm 27, hoping to be getting married in the next couple of years, starting my own family. They won't be there for any of that. Like, the harsh reality is my kids will realistically have two grandparents.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be at the wedding. They won't. All my milestones, like my 30th, anything that you ever imagine. I always wanted the big white wedding when I was a child, and you know, you play dress up and you have all your princess dresses, and I was big into that. That was my whole thing. I can't wait to have a princess wedding. And I've decided that that's not going to be the case for me. It'll be something very small and very low key, but it is just because of the family dynamic.
Yeah.
You've missed everything, all birthdays, all the Christmases. People have passed. You know, I've missed everything.
So I mean, that is a huge loss, Sophie, and then it's matched with the trauma of going through this. So it finally comes to court. They've pled guilty, and then presumably there's a sentencing hearing. And at that hearing, you might hear mitigation. And were you present in court at all of these times?
I was present in court every single opportunity I could be.
Yeah. So when it gets to sentencing, and both your cousin David is convicted of, I mean, a huge amount of offences in relating to yourself and your sister. I can't remember the number, do you?
72.
72. I mean, you know, absolutely huge. And his older brother, is it his older brother, Jonathan? In court, David is described as the dominant one. Mm-hmm. Was that your evidence or your sister's evidence?
Probably both, to be honest. But it is true. Like, we would have all noticed that growing up.
Yeah.
David was very much the bully. Jonathan was very easily manipulated. He was definitely the softer touch of the two. Like, David was just a bully. Our whole childhood, he always was.
Yeah. So Jonathan is convicted of a lesser number of offences, but convicted of very serious offences in relation to your sister, where, you know, and there's one really stark bit of the evidence where it's described how David encouraged him to sexually assault your sister.
Yeah.
He said, have a go, or something along those lines. I mean, you know, unimaginable considering these. What age is Jonathan? He's a year older, is he, or two?
He's a year older than David, yeah.
I mean, these are young men, like.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that sentencing process like? And, you know, obviously then, you know, you spoke publicly about how you felt the sentence didn't reflect the crime.
Mm-hmm.
Were you shocked hearing this, or how did you feel when, you know, that mitigation was being given about them being so young and, you know, living a good life since?
I think I just was completely underprepared for court. Like, we went in that day, the day that our victim impact statements had to be read, and the court remanded them in custody that day.
Yeah.
You know, they were taken out of the court that day in handcuffs. That was a complete shock to me. I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah.
Because they rocked in there that day in their suits and their best attire, and with probably the intention that they were going home.
Yeah.
And then they were just taken straight to prison after that. So that was a massive, a shock to the system. But the entire thing, like, victim impact statement, getting a call 2 weeks before court, and knowing that you have to write down your most intimate things. This is your one opportunity to talk to these people, to let them know the damage and the impact that they have had on your life. And then they're just sitting there staring you out of it. It's so overwhelming. And what do you say? How do you get through that? You're told, and your coach, you can look at the judge, or you can look down, you can have some water, whatever. But I just looked at David the whole time. I just wanted to look into his eyes and know, you're not winning this. You don't have control over me anymore. But also I wanted an answer. I wanted to know and ask the question, why? Like, why did you do this? Was it just because you had the access and it was easy? It still doesn't make sense to me. And I have to move on without ever having those questions answered. Because
obviously in court he apologises and I mean, most people apologise when they get to this point in court, obviously, because it can have an effect on sentencing. Do you feel there was a sincere recognition of wrong done from either of the two brothers?
No, absolutely not. Because it took going to court to hear an apology.
Yeah.
David had my phone number for 10 years before that. He could have apologised anytime he wanted. He could have been honest and told his family before I even had to make a statement.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do all of this.
Yeah.
And he wasn't sorry ever. He was quite happy to live his life and, be with his girlfriend and go on his holidays.
Yeah. So they're then convicted. And David initially was given a 6.5-year sentence, and Jonathan was it a 3-year sentence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the final 6 months suspended.
Yeah. So at that moment, survivors of abuse are kind of asked, do you want to waive your anonymity at this moment? And which obviously you've done, and you're here as a result. What was your thinking and your decision to speak publicly?
So when I initially made my statement, in Irish law, it was like, if you don't waive your right to anonymity, then they are not named.
Yeah.
That has since changed. So
Yeah.
they were being named regardless.
Yeah.
But because there was no media,
Right.
there was no, it just didn't seem to be a big deal.
Where was it? Because it wasn't in the Central Criminal Court, was it? It was in the Central Criminal Court, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what some people, so I mean,
it just didn't seem to be getting the coverage that I felt like it deserved. I wanted everyone in Meath, everyone in our hometown particularly, even when they're released, to know who they are and what they've done. I wanted it to impact their entire lives. Yeah,
because you were hearing, is it fair to say that people had downplayed it or that or even denied it fully, that was being spoken about locally before you went public, really?
Yeah, and there was so much online saying, like, she gave consent, he was a child, oh, he's admitted it, he's apologised. I was just thinking, we need to change this narrative here, because it's not she gave consent, she was 7.
Yeah.
I could not give consent.
No.
There's no way. He wasn't sorry. He's still not sorry. I will never believe that, because he had an opportunity to confess and walk into a guard station himself at any given moment, and he never would have done that.
Yeah. So the issues that you subsequently then went public and spoke really articulately in lots of different places, including on your own social media channels. How was that? Did you feel, it's a difficult thing, because no matter, even if you feel happy with what you said, did it leave you feeling exposed or?
It's very weird to me. So it's like an out-of-body experience. My own social media feels like a safe space most of the time. And I'm probably quite outspoken and stuff online. And then in real life, I would be a little bit more introverted.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but it's just, I feel comfortable there. Yeah. And, obviously there's pros and cons to the internet, and it can be quite a negative space. And, there's pros and cons to everything, I guess. Yeah. But I don't think I did feel exposed, because the support that I got, like, for every nasty comment, there were 10 amazing ones.
Yeah.
Being like, please keep doing what you're doing. A lot of people messaged me privately about their own situations and circumstances and things that had happened to them. I was the first person that they were telling these things to. Like, it was very much, okay, people feel safe enough to do this. And if I can direct them in the right place or where to go for information, if one person makes a statement and comes forward because of what I'm doing, then that's a massive success. And, we have had an increase in the last couple of years in this country. I think it's like, I don't know, it's at 13.9% just of people now are coming forward, which is bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah. And of course, unfortunately it falls on the survivors themselves, but people coming and telling their own personal stories, it connects with people far more than, a spokesperson or something coming out and making comments about sexual abuse or any other type of violence. It's the personal story that people connect with.
Yeah.
But you also use your platforms to highlight in your petition a number of issues that you believe are, that need to change really about the legal system.
Mm-hmm.
The first was the fact that these men were under 18 when they committed these crimes, and that you feel that shouldn't be given the weight that it does in law. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because in my own situation, David was 14 and he said, I know what I've done there is wrong. So from 14, I knew it was wrong, but I continued until I was 17 and a half.
Yeah.
17 and a half is not a child that doesn't know what they're doing, in my opinion. It's just a number.
Yeah.
It's like saying, should kids be able to vote when they're 18 or when they're 16? It's very much down to the individual. I know, I work with teenagers. There's some 13-year-olds that are incredibly independent, and then there's some 13-year-olds that in their mind are maybe 9 or 10, and that's okay. Kids develop at different ages and stages, and why can't we just look at that as a country and take it case by case?
Yeah, and you also felt that judges should be given a bit more leeway in the sentencing to consider each case differently to the others. That was also part of the petition.
Yeah, definitely.
So Sophie, that appeal is now, the undue leniency appeal is now come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling now about it all in terms of the legal process? If somebody was to come to you, as you described people having done, what advice would you give them? Or would you give them advice? Maybe you would say, not my place to give you advice at all.
No, I would, definitely, because they've made that step to reach out to someone, whether that be me or, any of the places that you can go and disclose this information. But I'd never not reply to somebody. I feel like, I could be the last person that they ever text. Do you know what I mean? And I can't handle that. So I'd like to help as many people as is possible. My advice is that it's a long road.
Yeah.
Strap up, lock in. It's, it's not, and we shouldn't joke about that, but I think that's how I deal with it.
Yeah.
It is a long road, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. The justice system is not victim focused as it would have people believe. It's just not.
Yeah, because I'd like to describe that, and many people will know how the justice system works. But, this is not like in other countries. This is not a case you've brought against your abuser. This is a case the state brings against the abuser.
Yeah.
So you're a witness, really.
Yeah.
So people maybe don't fully understand that, I think, do they? They say, did you press charges?
I didn't know that I was only a witness. And I say only because even when, I was getting paperwork to sign me off work for the week, it was that Sophie is needed to be a witness in this case.
Yeah.
And that's how it's worded. You're the witness. It's your witness statement. It's not your, it's not really about you.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not. And people don't understand that it's the state, the DPP and the guards are bringing a case against this abuser, but obviously the cases can't really proceed without you because you're the principal witness. But what that means is then, you don't get, and many people will know this, but not everybody was. You don't get legal representation.
No.
You don't get automatic support. Did you? That can be very, very difficult, especially you're a young woman at the time in particular.
Yeah, it worried me because the more I looked into it, I guess just having somewhere that you can go to ask the questions. The guards are completely understaffed. So, every question that I had, I didn't want to be ringing the guard in charge of the investigation. So I looked up a lot. And I was wondering, even the week before we went into court, I was like, okay, do I need to apply for free legal aid here? Is it too late? The panic stations that go into your mind.
Yeah.
There's just no information.
Yeah. No. And there's no, there are some victim liaison officers or whatever, but it's not, you're not the focus of it. And people, I think that does need to change. And I do know that they have tried to improve it, but I still think it's maybe not enough has been done.
Yeah.
So, Sophie, you're at the end of this process, and then you're still making the papers to an extent because you're not shy of giving your opinion, which is great, and you've kind of you've made the Sunday World, because I suppose you've spoken out about sexual violence in general, and it's you're obviously a survivor of the most horrific abuse that we've spoken about now, but still amazingly people are having a go at you on social media. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Tell us what's going to happen, because you've spoken about, I suppose, as I said, you've since the conviction, since the jailing of your cousins, you've spoken about sexual violence in Irish society, and that sometimes you've spoken about. Obviously, sexual violence has become something that people are speaking about, but people are speaking about it sometimes in the context of immigration, really.
Yeah.
Immigration. And you've said that you've spoken about how you don't, basically how you feel it's being weaponized Is that a fair representation?
Yeah. My whole point of making the video that I made and speaking to the people that I spoke to was that gender-based violence and sexually-based violence and rape and assault, it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter your age, your weight, your colour. It just doesn't come into it. Men and women alike are getting abused all day, every day.
Yeah.
It's happening all across the country.
Yeah.
And what seems to happen a lot on social media is as soon as a name is mentioned and they realise that it's not Paddy from down the road, suddenly they seem to care.
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating because as a victim and a survivor of these crimes, you want people to keep that same energy and care just as much when it is Paddy down the road.
Yeah.
Nobody seemed to care really about what happened to me because at the hands of Jonathan and David, because they're white Irish males.
Yeah. And of course that doesn't mean that if somebody is sexually assaulted by somebody from a non-national background, people shouldn't care. It means that what you're saying is people should care in all cases equally.
Yeah, the consistency is what's needed.
Yeah.
Because it's not about one or two or this person from this country. Somebody was sexually assaulted and we need to take it seriously, just as seriously every single time, no matter who the victim is and who the perpetrator is.
Yes. So you have had a bit of a hard time then. One of your videos was shared widely and it's amazing what people will say to you. Like, I mean, I did look at some of the comments and think, what is wrong with people?
Some of them are horrific.
Yeah.
Some of them are absolutely horrific. And the problem is with the internet, things are taken out of context all the time.
Yeah.
And then they just grow legs and they run. And it's not what you intended to say at all. Some of the comments were horrific and they are horrific. And a lot of them came from women, which is what really shook me.
Yeah. Because
I thought that we were all on the same page that, okay, we live in society. We are still very much, to a certain degree, the underdogs in a lot of circumstances. So to see women saying things to me that they said to me and about me, and even in my own message inbox, like death threats for speaking your mind about something that is very real is crazy to me.
However, you've also will get huge amounts of support and you have, I suppose, connected with other people that have suffered the same sort of things you have. That's also fair to say as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like Natasha and Nikita, they're some of my best friends now because we've all been in a certain situation. We all have a common thing that we can cry and we can laugh and we can all support each other. But also we all want to use our voices and we all want to see change implemented.
Yeah.
And that is, the most important thing is that it's really hard to come forward. None of us find it easy. Not one person that's ever come forward has been like, walk in the park.
Yeah.
We have all really struggled. We continue to carry the burden of the abuse every single day of our lives. But the difference is if you can change the narrative so that you're not, I could have sat in my room. I could have become addicted to substances. I could have, just been a complete drain on my own life.
Yeah.
But you can change the narrative and you make your life your own again. It's really hard, don't get me wrong, but you can make yourself happy. And, the girls keep me going. Natasha, Nikita, Hazel, I'd be so lost without them. And they all understand what it feels like. We have all gone through something really different and everyone's circumstances are different.
And also very public as well. Not just what happened, but also the publicity around it as well is also...
And it's not something that you can prepare yourself for. No one could sit you down and say, okay, there's going to be 1,000 people that are going to message you today and you're going to like 500 of them and the other 500 are going to tear you apart. Work away. It's not like that. But we all are in the same boat to a certain degree and we know what it's like. And it's really nice to have that kind of shoulder to cry on or support to lean on, or it's a driving force really.
Yeah. But you have, at this point, Sophie, you are, you're getting on with your life and you have made that recovery. Do you feel that's fair?
It's really hard to say if I feel like I have made a recovery. I'm not the same person that I could have been without the abuse or would have been. I've no idea what my full potential was. I don't know who I would have ever become.
Yeah.
And that's really awful. have to look sometimes at that 7-year-old girl and be like, I want to give you a hug. I'm so sorry that everybody failed you. And just, promise myself to do better. And, if I'm lucky enough to have kids that they never experience something like that. I work with kids 5 days a week. I want to instill things in them that, okay, call out your friends. That's not right. Or, you're sitting around Christmas dinner and somebody says something really derogatory or racist or sexist. It's actually just having the courage to be like, hold on a minute, that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
Yeah.
That's how change comes about.
Yeah. And of course, in order for that change to come about, people have to speak out like yourself and put themselves in the firing line. So it is a tough thing to do, but there is reward out of it, I think. Is there? Or is there?
Well, look, as I said before, and I've said this quite openly and publicly in the last week, a year added on to David's sentence is not a win by any stretch of the imagination. It's still unbelievably lenient. There's people that rob cars that get more time than he did. Like, that is a convicted rapist.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's still very lenient, and I still have to deal with the thoughts of him coming out one day. It is only 7 years down the line. Jonathan is less. It's 2 years now at this point, I think, until he's released. And I am going to bump into them in Tesco. It's just inevitable. It's going to happen. So it's not gone anywhere. No. It is something that I just have to be able to deal with now for life. And I think you just grow around it. It's a part of me, and I carry it every day, but I don't let it weigh me down. Yeah. I guess that's the difference.
Well, I mean, that's great to hear, Sophie, and it's been really great having you on. And it's maybe a story we'll come back to again in the future if there's further developments. So thanks very much, Sophie, for giving us your time.
Thank you.
It was great to look at every aspect of this story. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks.